Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. You know, people are going to have to learn that when you make your bed, you simply have to lie in it. A number of Republican-led states are trying to imitate Texas now, and they're trying to pass their own laws that will make it where local law enforcement will have the ability to enforce immigration laws and that they can start deporting people at the state level. Now, the only thing I have to say to this is, about time. Of course, we're talking about the white right here, so they're not doing it to do black people any favors, but by the same token, it's not hurting black people, so it is what it is. As far as our support for things like this goes, we don't actually have to get out there and go rah-rah for it. Merely the fact that black people are not out here opposing it, that sends more than a potent message about where it is that we stand on this issue, and you know what? We have a right to. As black people, we are a swing vote in this country, and we need to start acting like it. We need to start being political mercenaries. But as I said a long time ago, people don't understand what that means unless there's an or else behind your political demands. You need to do what we say or else. The orange man could find himself back in the White House. You need to do right by black people or else. You could find that the fascist takeover of America becomes a reality instead of just a bunch of empty rhetoric by MSNBC. Show people what it means to not have our support, because there's certainly no substitute for it. That's how you make yourself indispensable. Over the years, I've often said that if you want to be liked, just say yes to everything. Or rather, say yes to everyone. People will like you, or rather they'll pretend to like you while they use you for a doormat. You'll certainly not have to worry about them being unhappy with you, but on the other hand, if you want to be respected, you better start learning to say no. It's only when people have to think before they deal with you that you're actually getting respect. If people can just take you for granted, they don't respect you at all. And where the black population of the United States is concerned, we've let the white media spend all this time programming us with the idea that, well, black people are the quote-unquote conscience of the nation, more or less. But what that means is we are a suffering conscience who makes sure to speak up for everyone except for ourselves. And as a result, everybody gets to use us as doormats, and that's not okay. Because in the final analysis, black people cannot simply be the voice of everybody else. We have to speak for ourselves. And we do have interests that are separate and distinct from everybody else. No matter what the white media may try to say, immigration has not been a boon to the black population of the United States. In fact, it's been most detrimental, not merely in economic terms, though that's certainly been bad enough, but also because a disproportionate number of individuals who come from these foreign countries practice a culture of anti-black racism in their home countries, and then they bring it here to the United States. That's the reason why there's a whole lot of folks on the white left and the white right who like the idea of bringing in a whole lot of foreign-born people, precisely because they know the cultures that are being brought in are going to dovetail nicely with white supremacy. And that's exactly what's happened. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not about to hear anybody from south of the border claim that immigration is a racial issue. The hell it is. These people, whenever they get to the United States, they will, on their driver's licenses, on employment applications, school applications, on the census forms, they will identify as white. And since that's the case, we're going to hold them to it. Immigration is not a racial issue. It's a cultural issue. So that being the case, race has nothing to do with it. Not because I say so, but because the very people who have come here, legally and not, they have said so. A lot of people thought that it was cute to play footsie with white supremacy. A lot of people thought to themselves that it was some sort of victimless crime to go ahead and try to have a toe in both camps. Oh, we're going to identify as being white when it suits us, but we'll be people of color when the white supremacists are slapping us around. You can't have it both ways. So if the Republicans decide that they're going to be pursuing this particular policy, it has nothing to do with us. And it's okay for us to say that. We're not saying to vote for the GOP. I'm damn sure not. But what I am saying is that we will support these other groups the exact same way that they have supported us. You cannot empower white supremacy and to repeat all of its lines and to attack the black community and then turn around and complain when that same white supremacist machine decides that it's going to grind you up. You can't fuel the machine that destroys you and then turn around and say, hey, aren't we all in this together? No, we are not. Now, you have a lot of black folks, on the other hand, who want us to put on the cape and can't understand why it is that you've got more and more black people, especially young black people, who are looking and going, you know what, this isn't our fight. You got a lot of bootlicks, many of whom are tethers, who run around constantly comparing illegal aliens to the civil rights movement. They like to lend their melanin to that, but many of them it's because of the fact that they were either foreign-born themselves or they're first generation at most. It's time to push back against that phony narrative. Enforcing immigration law, that's like the civil rights movement, if anything, because it demands that the basic laws be upheld and, more importantly, that the laws apply to everyone. Again, the white right is not doing this to do us any favors, but we have to also be realistic about the fact that if a policy is not harming us, what the hell do we look like jumping out there and saying, oh, we're opposed to it? Everybody sticks up for what is in their specific interest. And if it happens to be harming black people, well, into every life a little rain must fall seems to be the position that others have. So as far as I'm concerned, we should go and do likewise. And if anyone wants to try to claim that, well, it's wrong if black people simply sit on the sidelines while this is happening, well, if it's wrong for black people to stand back or to even cheer on these kind of measures that other people say are somehow disadvantaging them, then it's also wrong when other groups do that where black people are concerned. When other people try to call themselves reaching for our history as a shield to hide behind, we have to make sure to swat their hands away. Everyone's going to have to stand on their own from now on. As white supremacy becomes more and more concerned about its primacy, we're going to be seeing more efforts like this to try to reinforce and retrench its position. Now, as I said in the past, especially about racist Ron DeSantis and his own lunk-headed attempts to enforce immigration law at the local level in Florida, if I actually thought that these guys on the white right were deadly serious as far as making prisons and as far as actually putting real resources behind it, then I would look and say, you know what, maybe this could be a going concern. But right now, it seems more like this legislation is just message legislation. It's meant to get them some quickie headlines in the white media, some spots on Fox News so they can say, look, we're doing something. It'll certainly, quote unquote, drive the libs crazy. But I'm curious as to whether or not it's going to result in anything substantive. Unless these red states are actually willing to devote the necessary resources to it, and that's going to mean raising taxes, by the way, which they have no problem doing if it means tax cuts for their billionaire buddies. But unless they're willing to put more money into more agents, more prisons, and more transports so that the illegal aliens can be repatriated, then what they're actually doing is nothing more than PR stunts, and PR stunts are nothing to be proud of. But as far as I'm concerned, we're entering an era of clarity. As white supremacy is finding itself being put under increased pressure, it's also forcing them to go ahead and put aside the pretenses. They're letting the mask slip. Hell, forget about letting the mask slip. They're just ripping the mask off and saying, here we are. And a lot of folks who thought to themselves that they were being slick, they're finding out that no, what happened was you jumped right into the belly of the beast. This is a time of clarity. And if it goes ahead and verifies and confirms what black people have been saying all along, then that is a good thing. A lot of folks who think that just because they come from a culture of anti-black racism, that somehow that makes them white supremacists. In the eyes of the white supremacists, they are officially white. No, they're finding out that's not the case at all. What a lot of people are finding out now is what the black media has been saying for many years. White supremacy has no permanent plans for any of its tools. And we're not just talking about the black ones either. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Kevin Riley, Keith Baker, G. Mars, AAP, and Pamela Hyman. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.